Everyone, welcome to United World of Sports. I'm Dante Suave. This is my co-host, Mr. Jay.
How's it going, everybody? Happy New Year.
So, didn't do a show last week because we had a snowstorm around here, and it was crazy. But we are back this week, and we are ready to go.
Yeah.
So,
let's talk about, man.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. So let's play catch up.
Okay.
Now, obviously, anybody watched the Notre Dame Georgia game? That was
expected.
Was it?
To me, it was. I did not have any faith in Georgia coming into their SEC championship game. So when they managed to beat Texas in order to get into the bowl, I felt like that was hollow. And you saw that with how Texas moved through the playoffs up into the Final Four, and how Georgia Tech looked like Georgia played like Georgia Tech, and they looked like they was outmatched. They just looked like it was not even close. Georgia's offense has not clicked the entire season at all. And their defense has been their defense, but it hasn't been a Kirby Smart defense during that time frame. So you saw glimmers of it, but then you saw parts of it that you just didn't understand. And then with Carson Beck deciding that, well, he hurt his elbow, so he was already out. And then that mess that happened after the fact, I don't know what's going on with Georgia. That's not a good look for Kirby Smart right now.
Right. Yeah. So my take on all the games, because I did watch all of them. Texas, Arizona State. I was kind of hoping that it would have been a little bit closer, a little bit more down to the wire, but it was overall a good game.
Yeah, that was a good game. That was the best game out of all four of them.
Arizona State definitely played them tough, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do going into the next year. Texas. They're inconsistent with their dominance. Is that fair?
But that's been Texas their entire tenure since Vince Young.
Gotcha.
They've always been highly ranked, highly touted in certain instances, but never fulfilled their potential. This year was the closest that they came to fulfilling their potential, but they still had just quirky little issues that affected them down the stretch that cost them to lose games. So this was about as complete of a Texas team as you've had in the past 20 years. But in the end, it still wasn't just quite enough. It was enough to get them to the Final Four, but it wasn't enough to where if you put them up against a Notre Dame, which I think, and the take I have on Notre Dame on the other end of this, you'll love. But when they get up to that upper echelon, to them Final Four teams, some teams that have proven themselves, you saw two programs that are right there, but for some reason they shoot themselves in the foot and they can't get over the hump. And that was Texas and Penn State.
Right. And then the Ohio State-Oregon game, they got their vengeance.
That wasn't vengeance. That was a massacre.
Yeah, that was vengeance. They came out, they punched them in the mouth from goal. Me and you talked about it during the game, and I was joking with while I was at work. I was joking with somebody, and I said, and everybody should be sending all their mean letters to Ann Arbor. So
that and then when we talked about this, I sat there and I said, you either going to have Ohio State is either going to cower in what happened, or they're probably going to be your national champions. And for me, I think that was a testimony more to one, I will sit there and I will eat crow. If Ryan Day galvanized that team to the point to where they're looking at like they're looking right now, he doesn't deserve to be fired. And I know after the incident that happened at Michigan and how he reacted to it, I said that I will take that back, because this team that I've seen, and I've always said, I'm not an Ohio State fan. I'm not. I'm UC. That's just how I've been raised. But that Ohio State team scares the bejesus out of me. And when I turned on that game on New Year's Day, and before I could sit down, after I heated up some food, poured me a nice little beverage, put my feet up to get ready to watch it, I was watching them score their 21st point. And by that time, I didn't wear, Son told me, and superstition gets to me in this aspect of it, I don't wear my team's jersey on game day. I did that the first part of the season with the Bengals, just because, you see everybody in Bengals guard, and they kept on losing. As soon as I stopped doing that, all of a sudden it started turning into win. So the superstition aspect of it was like, don't do it no more. So my Oregon jersey that I planned to wear that episode, the episode before, and we missed it, I didn't pull it out. It was hanging in my closet. I was going to wear it for the episode that we missed because of the snowstorm if they would have won. But that bad boy is now in the back of the closet. Season's over. And it was over from the beginning. That game was ugly. That was just, out of all four of the games that happened, that was by far the drubbing that they shouldn't have had. So,
so then moving forward, obviously the Notre Dame Penn State game, I watched that game. Penn State, am I wrong in the fact that Penn State should have won that game?
Yes, because you trust in James Franklin. Hate to say it, hate to be that way.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm not. I'm just saying.
Be honest. Watching the game, the way everything played out, did Penn State blow it?
Penn State blew it.
Okay, thank you. That's what I meant.
Because here's the thing. Penn State, first things first. Your quarterback, and there was a stat that was put up during the game. Your quarterback was 2 of 2 on screen passes. 0 for everything else to wide receivers. He did not complete a pass to a wide receiver the entire game.
Yeah.
Then, so that if you know that that's your situation right then and there, you put the ball in his hands to throw it when he wasn't connected with none of his receivers to put you in field goal range.
And he started it and he made the mistake. He got a little bit hero-y.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what cost him the game.
That's what threw the pick. Because the pick, if he would have timed that pass, he had an out that he could have threw. He had another pass that he could have thrown on that route. And they broke it down very well on the post game from that he could have threw, or if he would have threw it ahead of the receiver, he would have been fine. But he had been off target the whole game. And Penn State, their whole offense this season has been their running game and their tight end. That's their H-back, that he can run the ball. He catches out of the backfield. Number 44 for them is a beast. And you put it in your quarterback saying they had been off the entire game. How do you expect to win that? And Notre Dame, for everything, and it hurts me because the University of Cincinnati, you are looking at who should have been your head coach now playing in a national champion. And I messaged you this when that game was happening. So for reference sake, Marcus Freeman was the defensive coordinator for the UC Bearcats during the Fickell era. He was supposed to be the coach in waiting during the Fickell era. Fickell decided that he was coming back. Brian Kelly, Benedict Arnold from UC in the past, needed a defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. He plucked Marcus Freeman from UC to be the defensive coordinator for Notre Dame. Fast forward, Benedict Arnold pulls a Benedict Arnold move and goes to LSU, leaves Notre Dame high and dry. Notre Dame looks at their team and looks at their staff and says, who has the ear of the team right now? And everybody loved Marcus Freeman. Everybody at UC loved Marcus Freeman. So they offered him the job. When UC went into Notre Dame and beat Notre Dame the year that they went to the playoffs, that was Marcus Freeman's first year at Notre Dame. Hindsight being 2020, he shouldn't have been in Notre Dame, because what they decided to do after Fickell left was, hey, we're going to go back to the person that we didn't pick the first time when we picked Fickell and hire him, even though he's not been doing anything of substance while he's been in Louisville. And what did that do? They were 1 win away this season from making a bowl and lost every game to end the season to stay bowling eligible. He's in year 3. And in year 4, Freeman took a team that shouldn't have lost to Northern Illinois, took that and used that as fuel, and now they're in the national championship. Somewhere in UC's AD department should be somebody, and you know what? I forgot. Didn't know Bone went to USC and took Cronin with him. That's where he went. He didn't go to Notre Dame. Somebody in their athletic department from 2016, 17 up until now should be kicking themselves if there's anybody from that administration still in staff, because you're watching somebody that should be here playing for a national championship while you won't even sniff a playoff for another 5 to 10 years in this era of the portal and recruiting and promises. And you brought home stars that were stars here in this city and couldn't make anything out of them. So I'm all for it. I am rooting for Notre Dame in this championship game, partially because I ain't rooting for Ohio State, but partially because of Marcus Freeman. That is the first African-American head coach to reach a college football playoff championship.
And he doesn't even want that talked about.
And he doesn't want that talked about. He wants it talked about how damn good of a coach he is. And he is. I just heard today with everything that's going on, Chicago's trying to get a contact with him for the Bears.
And if I were him,
I'll say no.
I wouldn't move from where he is.
No, you're at a holy grail. Why would you leave from a holy grail? The only move from Marcus Freeman that would have made sense had it been any other structure above it, and he went there, would be Dallas.
No,
I'm saying without Jerry. If it would have been any other structure in that aspect of it.
Well, anybody going there would be great without Jerry.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Right now in this situation of what's going on, if Jerry Jones was not your GM/owner, I would have said instantly, go to Dallas. You would have made that back to being America's team. You've already kind of converted Notre Dame back into being America's college team.
I would be all for all the names that they brought up. They're bringing up Belichick. They're bringing up Dion. they now apparently Pete Carroll has been trying to throw his name in coaching jobs, although he mostly wants Chicago. But here's the problem with Dallas, and I'm gonna end this real quick because we haven't finished our current subject. Actually, you know what? We're gonna save that for later.
Save that one.
We're gonna save that for later because we only got a few more minutes, and let's talk about which you kind of segued into it. Your prediction is Notre Dame.
I'm rooting for Notre Dame. I think Ohio State's gonna win. I'm rooting for Notre Dame. The reality is that right now Ohio State is clicking on all cylinders, and barring an injury to Will Howard,
they clicking on all cylinders, but I saw some chinks in the armor. I saw some chinks in the armor. Even in that Texas game, Texas's mistakes is the only reason that score was the way it was, because defensively,
Texas held them in there.
Texas's defense did the job, but unfortunately for them, Ohio State's defense did their job to a better level.
Yeah, they did,
and made them make mistakes. And and this is also going prompted another question, but I'm going to bring it up during the last segment, during the NFL segment, because it actually is preaching in both. So my prediction. Who I would like to see Notre Dame win it. It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a Michigan fan. It's just the fact that it would be somebody different. Notre Dame hasn't won in years.
88.
Yeah. Notre Dame hasn't won in years, and that takes me back to nightmarish days when Lou Holtz was the coach and he kept the defense on kill, and they used to play Michigan every year. Do you know how depressing it is to sit up there and go, hey, who they playing next week? They playing Notre Dame. Oh God.
Rocket Ishmael.
They had offensive weapons, but it was mostly the defense.
Because that defense they always was trying out linebackers and corners.
And they were all set on kill. Mm-hmm. Just everybody they hit, they was trying to kill them. And it was like, can we stop putting them on the schedule, please?
No, you have to deal with that fight.
No. It's like they're not even in our conference. It's like they're like, no, just stop putting them on the schedule.
It was that draw.
So, but yeah, now, who do I think is going to win based upon, football IQ, watching the game? I did see some mistakes on Notre Dame's part, and therefore I do feel like that's where Ohio State is going to have the edge, just because of where they're playing. And plus they playing with a chip on their shoulder, thanks to my Wolverines.
Yeah.
And also I can't leave them out, because they did get their revenge. I know you said it wasn't revenge, but it was. Bottom line, like we always say, you lost the game. Yeah, you were supposed to win, but you lost. You didn't win, and we can't be moving the goalposts for certain teams.
No, I'm not.
It's like, yes, Ohio State was supposed to win the game, just like Ohio State was supposed to beat my Wolverines. They were supposed to have won that first game against Oregon. Arguably the best game of the year, the way it ended up playing out. And Howard made a mistake that cost his team the game. But bottom line, you lost. You were supposed to win, you didn't. That's like, Mike Tyson. He walked in, he fought Buster Douglas. He was supposed to win, he didn't. You can point to some inconsistencies with the referee. But at the end of the day, Mike didn't go in there in shape. He didn't go in there ready, and Buster Douglas caught his chin.
And that's what that match. That's what that whole game was a chin check repeatedly against Oregon. I think, now, question for you: do you think the committee goes into next year and says conference championships get you into the dance, but it doesn't guarantee you a top 4 seed?
But then how are they going to make that work and stick?
Because then you go by the rankings.
Criteria.
You go by the rankings. So basically, if you have a top 20 list, and in your top 20, you have the teams that won the major conferences and your group of 5. You take those 5 teams that's in there, and then everybody else, wherever they fall in line, they fall in line. Because if you think about it from that standpoint, Boise State would have been not Boise State. Arizona State, I think, would have been the 12th seed. They wouldn't have had a bye. Because I think what that did was the problem that I see with that happening is that you gave teams that had byes were 3 weeks out from playing a game, anything meaningful, against teams that had just played a week before, had worked off their off time and everything else, and then came in there and they blitzkrieged all of them except for Arizona State. Not saying that they wouldn't have been ready. They should have been ready. You earned that top seed. You should have been ready. But in that aspect of they're coming in after they've warmed up after being out for only a week and a half because they have to practice a week before the game, to being 2.5 weeks plus a couple of days because they have to have it on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day in order to play into that game. It makes it to where it's kind of it set them up to where some teams shouldn't. I don't think Arizona State deserved a bye. Oregon was the only team that deserved a bye that wet the bed. Mm-hmm. Everybody else, if you think about it, was Boise State one of the top really one of the top 12 teams?
Arizona State?
No, Boise. Because they hadn't played anybody.
And that showed in that game because the game that you were thinking that running back team was going to get off.
Yeah, he didn't get off. He didn't get off.
And then of course the analysts started jabbing. It's like, well, technically they ain't played a defense in the top.
They hadn't played a defense in the top 10 in the top half of the college football. Plus, as a running back, you have not ran meaningful in 3 weeks. You're not going to, even during drills, you're not running full speed, full out. You've been playing week after week after week after week after week after week. And then turn around and you have 3 weeks off and you're supposed to be at that same level in that aspect of it.
Yeah. Or could they move it where everybody gets the same amount of time off?
That's the other thing. That's the other thing, because if you gave everybody a week off, and basically play it like the NFL does. NFL, your season ends, wild card weekend is that next weekend right afterwards, because you picked all the teams that Sunday. You could have set it up and had it for that following Saturday, Friday and Saturday for the bowl games to be ready to go. Make the people who have to do all the scouting and everything else in that week. Have them go right back in there and do it. That way, your top 4 teams that earn them buys, they only got a week off, and then they right back. It's just like a regular bye during the season.
Right. So maybe it's making it more fair and more structured, and more structured to where everybody gets the same amount of time off. Nobody gets any extra time off.
Right.
That way, and they better come competitive.
They better come
because at the end of the day, here's the bottom line: if you didn't win your conference championship, and that's what you had to do, plus the rest of your season. Mm-hmm. To get to the conference championship to win, I don't want to hear all this mess about. You got to start putting it on the players, which is another conversation we gonna have. But right now we need to move on. Let's see. I did check out some games this weekend. I missed my Wolverines winning yesterday against Washington. Granted, it's an unranked team, but still, it's nice.
Hey, it's better than what my team.
This is nice to do. Yeah, I did, and I actually missed that game, and I was kind of mad at myself because I had actually dropped somebody off so that they could watch that game because they were going to Mio's, and so that they could watch that game. And
For the game that we're talking about now, we're talking about Kansas and UC. Which was
beat by 14.
They got beat by 14, but I think the Wes Miller experiment has to stop. I think with Wes Miller coming from the lineage that he did from North Carolina, everything, you had aspirations that he was the next big thing coming up in college during that time frame. But with the talent that on the last episode that I was talking about that I saw when I saw them play against Dayton, since that conversation we had about that, they have not won. They have not won a game. They went into conference play in the Big 12 and have lost to Kansas State, Arizona, I want to say Iowa State, and this game against Kansas. This game against Kansas was at home, and at halftime, they were up 25-24. They lost 54-40. Yes, folks, they scored 15 points in 20 minutes after halftime. But your team is a 3-point shooting inside out team. How do you only score 15 points in 20 minutes of basketball? Kansas is Kansas, but this is not a typical Kansas squad this year. And you cannot continuously get to a point to where you play your schedule outside of conference and you get yourself ranked high. And then by the time conference is over, you're looking at the NIT every single year.
What do you think that they could do? Okay, so when does some of this? Because I'm gonna have to ask this question because I wanted to save it for later, but we have to ask. This could go football, basketball, pro, college, whatever. When is it also going to be on these players that are getting picked? Because you sit out there, you watch them making the mistakes. You see them not stepping up to the plate. When is it on them? I'm not saying, just like in our other conversations, I don't give nobody a pass. You know me, I'm a big picture person. The coach is obviously a part of the picture. He bears some responsibility. But when does these guys that are getting raved about, that are supposed to be ha ha ha, when they playing ha 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 ha, and only the coach is catching the heat, but the coach can't go. The coach can coach, but he can't go out there, and especially during this time of, you have to be careful of people's feelings, and whether or not they like you, and you have to do what you can to get along, because the not so consistent championship, playoff, and actual championships, whatevers, those players don't worry as much about their feelings, because their mentality is, I'm going to go out here, I'm going to lay it all on the line, and I'm going to limit my mistakes. And that's their personal, to go along with the, to complement the coaching.
Yeah.
When does that come into play?
My response to this will be, in college football, when you're dealing with 53, not 53, you're dealing with almost 100 people, you delegate a little bit more to your assistant coaches and everything in that aspect of it. When you are the primary recruiter for the team that you're putting out there on the field, or out there on the court, especially in this day and age, to where, again, you're dealing with NIL, you're dealing with transfer portals, everything else like that. When you know what your idea is for what your philosophy for offense or defense and your whole team schematic is there, and you're going out and you're actively recruiting people in order to bring them in there, and it's not meshing, 1 year in a transition period, I can understand that. 2 years, you're getting your feet wet. This year 4. Mm-hmm. You've had 4 years to continuously pull that in there. You got Rayvon Griffith, that was a top 5 recruit out of Cincinnati, that has been on the bench for 2 years. No explanation whatsoever. First year was a red shirt. Why he's not playing now? He's got two other guards in front of him that are higher in class. One's a fourth year senior, one's a sophomore. That's in there. Okay, give you that one for that aspect of it. But you have your offense, with the way that you want to structure your team, you have components of it, but it doesn't look like you're maximizing it at all. You recruited a 7-foot tall center who dominated you in the NCAA tournament, not NCAA, in the NIT tournament. You recruited him to come over and come play for you. Went through eligibility issues with him in order to get him on the court. And yes, he is a shot blocker. Yes, he's a lob threat. But you have not developed him in the 2.5 years that he's been underneath you since he left Utah State.
Okay. Another question. So now, are they going forward? Are they still going to be able to develop?
That's the thing. You're now in the midst of the Big 12. You're in your conference schedule. So your learning curve, to me, your learning curve is during your non-conference schedule. Mm-hmm. That's when you start getting comfortable in your sets, comfortable with what you run and everything else like that. Now you're at a point to where if you're now a third of the way into the season and what you showed in the first third is not even being reflected in the beginning part of this conference season, you already down 4 games in the conference. Mm. How can you rebuild that and how can you recapture that? We already almost halfway through January. Mm. We go through February. You got March in the tournaments. You got a month and a half. Where is it? What is it going to be? An instant flip of a switch, and all of a sudden you get it, and y'all start clicking, or will this be another year of you in the bottom half of the Big 12 and hoping for an NIT? Because that's not what. If this is what you're going to settle on, and this is what we are, then that's fine. If you want to be just a middle of the road NIT team, cool. But you should not be sitting up here in a power conference thinking that, having everybody thinking. At the beginning of the season, there were pundits that said that they were a sleeper Sweet 16, Elite 8 team with what they had. So if people outside of there have been watching your team and say that you should be here, and you're not even meeting those expectations in the slightest, and it's not just them. Xavier's the same way right now.
Well, Xavier's understandable because what conference are they in again?
Xavier's in the Big East.
Yeah, but the Big East ain't like it.
Big East got the 2-time defending national champs though, and they've had Creighton. You've had Butler. Okay. You've had they're a power conference.
Okay, yeah.
But Xavier, you got to remember, a couple of years ago, Xavier was the Elite 8 team.
Yeah.
And they brought back Sean Miller. Sean Miller has been in control of the team, and it's just, but their team is without Fremantle. They seem like they don't know what they're doing. It's weird right now, and for Cincinnati to be a basketball hotbed for college, right now it is a very weird feeling because we're not used to sustained periods to where neither one of our teams are really, really good. And that's including NKU, Miami, Xavier, UC. You go up to Dayton, Wright State. In that aspect, in that bubble of that area, Dayton's the only one to where I would sit there and say, okay. Everybody else, I'm worried about. I'm legitimately worried about because it seems like they're just like middling around, waiting for something to take hold, and you can't middle around now because right now in all sports, when it comes to college, what you do and what you present is also what's going to be used as advertisement in order to bring possible people into your school in that aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, and you know me. That's my thing. Is big picture. It's what is the players' mindset on things, because how they carry themselves, it shows on the court.
Yeah.
No matter how talented they is, you can see their flaws. If you sit there and you watch enough games, you will see their inconsistencies and you will see their issues. And then the first thing I do is okay, what is the coach doing?
Right.
Is what is the coach doing? What is it saying? And I try to look and see the look on the player's face, because if the coach says something to him and I see him frown up, I go, oh Lord. And so yeah, there's that. But with that, we're gonna move on to the NFL, because I got a lot of questions, not only about games, but some other things that are going on in the NFL right now. So I wanted to make sure that we left plenty of room for that. So here we go. The Bills and the Broncos.
I love one of the biggest things I love about football is that after the season is over, you start finding out, oh, this person was dealing with this. This person was dealing with this. When it comes to football, nobody is 100% at the end of the season at all. So to hear one of the top headlines on ESPN right now is Broncos quarterback Nick played through back fractures.
Okay.
He didn't play through back fractures when he was through that first drive, and they drove right down the field on Buffalo yesterday.
Okay. So here's my response to that. Don't make me, I like Bo Nix. I like potentially what Bo Nix is turning me into. Don't make me nickname him Tito Ortiz. Don't make me nickname him Tito Ortiz. Don't do that.
I don't like excuses, and they just got outplayed. Just say that. It should not even be.
They got outplayed. Too much got put on him. It happened in a lot of games. Kudos to the Washington Commanders and the Buccaneers actually making a game worth watching.
Yeah, because it wasn't too many of them yesterday. No, I won't say that. Green Bay's game against Philadelphia yesterday was good to watch. And when Green Bay was running the ball.
But they and me and you talked about this, and I saw, I Bluetoothed it mostly, but I was listening, and I in the first half, other than the times where I heard Jacobs got 2 yards, he got 3 yards, he got 5 yards, he mostly got between 3 and 4.
Yeah.
He got a couple of 5s, but he got mostly 3 and 4, a couple of 2s. Mm-hmm. He only got caught behind that line, and I saw it both times because I just happened to be at a light. And he got caught behind the line. He didn't get caught behind the line enough times to justify the fact that you knew that Love was iffy. You know he could be iffy when you put it all on him anyway. So, and for Christ's sake, both teams showcased both their running backs and bragged about how they came from other teams and they was getting the opportunity. So I'm thinking, this is going to be a running. This is going to be all about, and it was quarterback versus quarterback. And I'm like, what? And even when I was listening, I'm like, what is going on right now? And this is what I talked to you about freedom. The Philly could be Detroit, but they don't have the freedom. And the funny part about it was he wasn't trying to be a problem. And the media, and this is why I don't give the media a total pass. He's sitting on the sidelines reading the book. I don't care what you think. Just ask him what the book is and move on. He had a right to ask that question, but yet it was a double-edged sword, because you acting like the media is coming out of, once again, you acting like the media is coming out out of nowhere.
Yep.
Now that I'm not going to let you get a pass on. But the fact that you were over there reading the book, as soon as they brought up he was reading that book, I already knew what it was about because he wasn't getting the ball.
No, he wasn't.
So then that was his way of yes. Can you say that was his way of like, okay, y'all just call me when we up again. But the one thing I will say is this. When Saquon was running and he ran to his side, he was blocking.
Yeah, he blocked.
He's blocked.
He's blocked.
He blocks and he does that job. He does that job, probably one of the most consistent star wide receivers that I can say you could say that he blocks because he did it even for before he left Tennessee. He did it for Derrick Henry there.
Yeah.
So I'm not bad mouthing AJ, although it's never a good look when a brother starts his own national television with an angry look on his face and he go, we need to get better at passing.
Now, here to piggyback off of what you were saying with that, both teams did highlight their running backs in that aspect of it. I think the game was, like you said, it was turned into quarterback versus quarterback, and you had a quarterback that was coming off a concussion versus a quarterback that was missing weapons.
And he had the elbow
and
issue.
he had a slight elbow issue.
And he keeps getting to the point to where he's doing hero ball.
Right. So, but here's my thing. Here's my question to you for that. Right. Looking at the stats for there, you know that your quarterback has an elbow issue. You had him throw 33 times. You only ran the ball with Jacobs 18.
And that's why I said they wasn't running the ball enough.
Exactly. Right. But here's the thing. I agree with you on that. But what I told you when it came to that was that both of them are second half running backs. They wear down their offense. They wear down the defensive lines in the first half, and they get a bulk of their yards in the second half of games. You saw both of them doing that during the game yesterday. But what the problem with that though was that where Green Bay was throwing the ball in order to try to wear down the defense in that aspect of it, you had Barkley still doing his runs because Barkley still ended up running 7 more times than Jacobs did, and you had Gainwell running, and you had Hurts running. So that wore them down further than you did them having them throw them past.
Especially when you got a guy and look, when you got teams like the Buffalo Bills and they got a winning record, you got the Lions in there with not top names, we have to get to a point where it's like, you know what? Miss me with that stuff about weapons. Did you and your coaches do due diligence to make sure, because that second interception he threw, he had Kraft in front of the dude that got the interception. Yeah. All he had to do was throw the Kraft.
Yeah. He tried to do too much in that aspect.
And a lot of these scores, I don't care if it's college or pros, you watch these games and the quarterback tried to do too much. Yeah. Penn State, the quarterback tried to do too much. And he paid for it. That's why Notre Dame is there. That was their team's chance to bail out their coach, because they've been saying it about him that he's a good coach, but he can't win he can't win in crunch time. Those crunch games, which are basically the bowl games and the important in terms of getting a natty, as they call it.
And it comes down to the reason why teams like Buffalo, Philly, Detroit, Baltimore are good in this aspect of it is that they sit there and they make a good situation. They balance their offenses. Baltimore ran more than they passed. Buffalo ran more than they passed. When you get down to the playoffs, it's about ball control and stifling defense. You can have the flashy plays. Shit, you saw what Denver did in that first play, that first drive.
Actually, I did miss that. When I turned it on,
Denver
Buffalo had just made it 7-3.
Denver went boom, boom, 53-yard bomb for a touchdown. And took the lead. It was Nix to Franklin. Took the lead. Everybody, when that happened, I'm like, okay, Denver came to play in Buffalo. They punched them right in the mouth right off the thing. Yeah, they punched them in the mouth, and then the bully said, hold on, wait a minute, let me. All right. Just start running the ball. That's all they did. Start running the ball. Start smacking their mouth.
And they have, and Cook, you can say what you want about Cook.
His brother was a beast too. So that whole family running backs is a beast.
But when you don't use them, and for Christ's sake, with all these offensive coordinators, please stop running up the middle. Unless you get a couple of plays where you are consistently, and it's working, quit trying to run up the middle. I get so sick and tired of teams giving up on the run, and all they tried to do was run up the middle.
Who did that yesterday? And they was actually like gashing them up the middle. Somebody was gashing them up the middle. It might have been Philly at the end of that game against Green Bay when Saquon really started taking off. They started smashing them dead into the middle of the thing.
Well, actually, earlier in the game, which was why I was pissed that they wasn't running Jacobs more. Jacobs, it was like 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Pass. It's like when Jacob
and it was in spots because they do 2 throws, then they running for something, and it's like and they did have one stint where they did do like 2 or 3 straight plays, but it didn't get a first down, so they went right back to pass, and I'm like, what are you doing?
That is why when me and you were messaging during that game between Detroit and Minnesota, and I sat there and I said, if Detroit gets Montgomery back, Detroit is dangerous. Because here's the reason why. When Jacobs was in that offense for Green Bay, Philly could key in saying 9 times out of 10, he's going to get the ball. So they could focus in on him. When you have Montgomery and Gibbs back there, plus a full complement of your weapons right there, you can't key in on one. There's no way you can. The reason why Philly started teeing off, Jacobs was getting his yards because Jacobs is a beast. Had that been any other team with any other type of running back during that time frame, Philly was keying in on him because they knew Dobbs had went out with a head injury. He already had Watson was out for the season. He lost another receiver during that third quarter I think he separated his shoulder or he broke his collarbone. Yeah. They were getting smoked out there. The only people that he had was
he didn't throw the craft enough.
Right.
Obviously, the one interception.
Right. And that's what made it to where they could key in, and it made it to where their defense. It made it simple to be like Jacobs came on the field. All right, so it's a 70-30 chance they're gonna run the ball. And out of that 30 chance where they're going to pass it, it's maybe a 12 to 15% chance they're going to throw it to Jacobs out of the backfield.
He going to 20. He going for a 20-yard pass. Yeah. Which means he's going to ignore the tight end. He's going to ignore the intermediate.
He's going to ignore the flat. He's going to try to go over the top. So if you're playing a shell defense and you're playing a cover 3 or a cover 2 back there, where you got somebody, all your DBs is in a shell around 20 yards out, and just make sure don't nobody get behind you, and just let the 5 rush. You need to play a nickel and let 5 go at him, and you ain't got to worry about it as long as he's not running the ball.
And I saw both of them sit up there, and there was times where they took sacks, and they had gaps. Both of them, Love and Hurts.
Now, I did not like the fact that Hurts ran as much as he did, even on the design running plays. You're 3 weeks off of coming from a concussion. The last thing that you need, and he does not know how to slide. He always drops his shoulder. So it's the last thing that you need is if you are trying to build, you brought Saquon in to be your workhorse in order to keep Hurts from getting hurt.
That's what I'm saying. You got Gainwell, and I understood what you were saying, but that's also a usage thing. It's like we got Saquon, we got to make sure he get his numbers. So Gainwell is not naturally. Gainwell is going to be best at wherever they fit him in at because when they had that one game where they shut him down and then pretended like he wasn't hurt, like wasn't nobody watching the game. And Gainwell got in. Gainwell was. I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh God, they what?
But Gainwell is their change of pace back. That's what I don't like, and I agree with you. I don't. To me, if they sat there, if you told
that could be Montgomery and Gibbs,
it could be
in Philly. But here's the problem: Brown and Dante. You're not going to be able to do.
But at the end of the day, and that comes back to the conversation we had a while back. At the end of the day, are you worried about your stats or are you worried about a chip?
Nope, they worried about the stats.
And that's what separates. That's what, and circling it back around, the quote, and I meant to message you about that, the quote that Chase said after the season was over, after they got eliminated from the Broncos blowing out the Kansas City Chiefs because it wasn't the Chiefs, it was the Chiefs. It was the Chiefs.
Don't you dare.
It was the Chiefs. That was not Kansas City football team. That was the Chiefs. But here's the quote when they asked him, like, how does he feel about winning the Triple Crown? And he said, if it causes me to have another year and not making the playoffs like this, I don't want it. For him to say that, and the leaders, and you gotta look at it from the aspect of it, that's one of them things to where I sit there and say, like, I understand that one, because now you got the AJ Browns in doing this where you're reading the book and everything else like that. If you could sit there and put out there on the offense right now, Goddard, go to a basic old school NFL late 90s, early 2000s setup before the run and gun. Gainwell, Barkley in the backfield, Hurts your quarterback, Goddard your tight end, receiver 1 Brown, receiver 2 Smith, and your offensive line. Nobody could stop that because you can hit Gainwell coming out the flat. You got Saquon coming out the flat. They can also do wheel walks and go up the field. You got 2 receivers that can play flat, intermediate, or go deep.
You ain't got to worry about wearing nobody out because you got Gainwell and
Barkley.
And that ultimately, and that's what I was trying to tell you, is the difference. They have what Detroit has, but they just not allowed to use it because they players are like, whatever helps us win, we will do. They are literally a more talented looking version of the Patriots. I said what I said.
Yeah. And that's why that's why I've been saying for the longest time, Detroit to me is the team to beat because you have to worry about so much. The only thing that concerned me about Detroit was, could their defense hold up to get them through the 3 games that they need to in order to win a chip?
And seeing that they picked up that one guy and they threw him in and he didn't show what he can do. I'm saying yes. If I am Hutchinson, sit down. No, don't.
He just sit. He gonna try to make the Super Bowl.
Just sit because here's what I fear. You're gonna pull a Greenlaw. How did that work out?
Yeah, I agree.
You're gonna go out there. You're gonna push it, and then you're going to have to sit down and then you're going to be done for even longer. Don't do that. They have shown that they are improving. They are showing that the defensive coordinator is starting to figure out, okay, I see what I can do. I see what you can do. I see what I can call. Now, I just need y'all to get out there and perform, which to me, the way they perform right now, the same with the Rams,
Wow.
There's a personal mindset going on here.
Yeah.
There's a personal mindset, not just the coaching. It's not just Dan Campbell and his mindset. They have a natural mindset to where even if they didn't have Dan Campbell, if they had a coach that held everybody accountable, they would still be doing the same thing.
Yep.
And that's no slight to Dan Campbell because his only flaw is not being so rigid on being all in on the fourth downs, and putting some trust. Cause even when they at their weakest, they still got to know that you still got their support, bro. Mm-hmm. You start losing star players. You supposed to be like the 20-decade Bill Belichick. Like, oh, that's all right. Next man up. They know what they supposed to do, and they're gonna get out there and do it. Or they don't want to see me come after the game and all week in practice. Yep. And not because I am the man and they are my little minions, my little peons, because that's what they're supposed to do. That's what each one of their salaries says that they are supposed to do. Like next man up, like you said, boom, get your butt in there and get it done. Now, that game defensively, and this is because we wind it down. Stop saying the defense does not win games.
Please stop that.
I don't care if it's basketball. I don't care if it's football. I don't care what the details of it is. Now in basketball, I will say that the defense isn't as good as it used to be. The rules are part of it. Personal mentality is part of it. I'm all about big picture mentality. There's a whole bunch of things that play into why teams are not performing up to their level. And some of it is personal accountability. Yeah. That is a part of it too, and it doesn't get talked about. Now, that score was 22-10. Should have been closer than that.
It should have been closer than that.
It should have been closer than that. But like we said, key mistakes at key times.
No, it's one key mistake. One key mistake that I want to bring up because I know we got to wrap up and go to this aspect of it. What was the point of throwing the ball toward the end zone in double coverage right after the 2-minute warning? What was the point? We had that whole conversation on the one pass play a couple of weeks ago where you did not have to take the deep shot, but you took the deep shot. There was no reason for him to take that deep shot right then and there. He took that deep shot because, like we said, he wasn't looking intermediate or flat. He was looking for a home run or nothing at all. And he sat there. When he chucked that ball, I said, it's picked. As soon as the ball left his hand, I said it was picked. The same way with the second interception that he threw when the guy had intercepted or had picked up he threw the interception and they called he was out of bounds or it was the penalty for it, and then turned right back around and said, my bad. You should have got that interception. Here you go. Threw it right back to him. Exact same player, exact same position.
Packers, but there was another team that did that exact same thing. I can't remember who it is. I can't remember if it was the Packers or if it was somebody else. But
no, it was the Packers. That was that Packers game. That was that Packers game. He sat there. He threw a pass play. There was a penalty on the defense. They got the ball, or there was something that happened because it got picked off. They gave them the ball back, and the very next play, he sat there and took a 3-step drop and threw it. It wasn't nobody around him except for the linebacker that he threw the interception to the play before. And he just sat there and said, thank you. And Braun, 53 for Philadelphia, intercepted and ran up the field, ran out the sideline. I'm sitting there, I'm like, he just picked you off. If anything, I'm going to be looking for that exact number. Like, no, I'm not throwing it your way.
And was that the first one or the second?
That was the second pick.
Yeah. And then when they showed it from behind him, you seen Kraft right in front of him.
Yep. And when he threw that, I said, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me.
And that's why I questioned it's like when it's like 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 1, and you throw a 20-yard pass or 4th and 1.
Right. Especially when if you already know. This day and age, you know that if it's third down and you've been passing the ball, they're going to expect for you to pass the ball on that 3rd and 2. When they did the Phillies, they were doing the brotherly shove, and on that play, and I said, God dang it, they had him. When he sat there and instead of going to do the shove, he rolled back and rolled out and threw the ball over towards Brown, and he barely overthrew him. That was perfect because you got 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. Everybody knows Philly's going to do that Philly shove. Everybody. You have to have a play action that runs in behind that. Because if you do that, most of the time, with everybody crowding up in there, if you got a wide receiver out there on a one-on-one and you got your wide receivers out there on a one-on-one, you throw it up there just in their vicinity, they're going to go get it. And that's going to catch, that makes it to where defenses can't sit there and say, are they really going to do the brotherly shove? Or are they going to pass out of it? We can't block in on it. It opens it up. You can't, they get so locked in on, and then doing it on 3rd down, what did they do? They turned around on 4th down, did it, still got the 1st down. You didn't lose nothing. You play the game in order to maximize your strengths and minimize the defense's opportunity to exploit your weaknesses. It's simple with that. And it's too many quarterbacks, it's too many offensive coordinators that's trying to outsmart the basics of football, where it's a 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. I got a bruising running back. Let's go.
All right. Last thing, and then we got to wrap up. Who you got tonight?
You know what? I'm going with the Vikings. I like the Rams, but the Vikings squad, in the midst of everything that's going on, I don't think the Rams are going to be completely focused with everything that's been going on out there in LA. You got coaches that had to move. You got players that had to the up and deal with that. It's kind of a sad situation because I think the Rams would have been, if they would have been at home, I would have took the Rams at home. But seeing it's got moved to a neutral site and Minnesota has something to prove after they got the snot knocked out of them by Detroit, I don't see Minnesota not coming out of there.
Now that you bring that up, I have to say that's going to feel me more to go for the Rams because now they got something to try to get the fans, and plus, like experience wise, I'm
leaning towards Stafford.
I gotta lean towards Stafford. Plus, they got everybody, and everybody's healthy, and they've been pretty much wrecking shop on everybody since then. And I'm sorry, but Darnold, that offensive line, if you could get pressure on Darnold pressure bust pipes.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting to see if Aaron Jones cannot run that ball. And it's put on Darnold, pressure bust pipes. That's going to be an ugly game. And plus, can you not only cover Cup and Puka, but then you got that emerging wide receiver. Not to mention they got Higbee back, and it's like,
it's going to be an interesting game. I'm going to enjoy watching it while I'm hooking up some stuff tonight.
Let alone if they run the Michigan running back.
Corum? Blake Corum?
Yeah.
His stats that came up since the end of the season.
So yeah, but here's to another exciting episode. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Please feel free to comment, like, and share. Whatever you disagree with, whatever you agree with, what you don't agree with, and why, and I will try to respond as quickly and as much as possible.
I want all the smoke. Send it to me. I don't know. Hey.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I would like my platform to be a peaceful, everybody exchange opinions and be respectful. That's the way I would like it to be. But there are people that personally know me that know, okay,
excellent, Smith.
Let's not do that. I want to have at least one spot in my life where I don't do that. So I'm not even gonna go there. But I'm Dante Suave. This is Mystah Jay.
Everybody have a great rest of your evening. Enjoy this week of playoff football. And next Monday we're gonna get in and get out because it's National Championship Monday. And go Fighting Irish.